evening and welcome to the March 6, 2025 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law 14 of 2022. Our next meeting and those following will also be held here in person at Town Hall and will continue to allow for remote participation. So please keep checking the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only and not participate, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website for viewing. With that, I'd like you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you with us here tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases located across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are located in the hallway outside of this room opposite the elevator. The restaurants are located across the hall from this room. We'll begin this meeting with live hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it's their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find you're having difficulties accessing the hearing, visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, for those of you in the boardroom, please silence your cell phones as it interferes with our recording. Tonight, board members Helen Burgess and John Leonard are absent. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on a particular application will have a time limit of 3 minutes. Also, before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. The application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated, at the end of an individual application hearing, all applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a set date. Those written comments can be addressed to members of the board and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell, in the building department. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of our February 26, 2025 meeting.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bob, would you take us through the agenda for the evening?
Yes, first number 3 tonight, Ronan E. Seltenreich, 5 Central Avenue, East Quogue, New York, 900-315-37. We're going to re-advertise that for April 3rd.
No vote.
No vote on that?
Nope.
And then number 8 on tonight's calendar, John T. Montecavo. What did we got?
You read the,
Yeah, 1129, 1189, 1169. Spionk Riverhead Road, Spionk, New York. We're going to
tax map.
do the tax map. 900-301-2-6, 7, and 8. We're going to adjourn that till May 15th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 9 on tonight's calendar, Wilderness Trail JB LLC, which is, I guess there's no address.
Landlocked, yeah.
Landlocked. It's section 900-79-1-33 in North Sea. We're going to adjourn that until May 15th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 12 on tonight's calendar, 94 Dune Road Holding Corp. It is section 900-385-1-37.3. We're going to adjourn that until June 5th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We're going to do 13 and 14 together, which is 96 Wilshire Street in North Sea, New York, section 900-132-161. We're going to adjourn that matter until April 17th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the following decisions will be adjourned until 3:20. Okay. First, Stephen Genovese. We don't need to read this
And
section.
look, we'll do detailed interest first.
DLK interest,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to adjourn that matter until 3:20 for decision.
You can, I think you can list them all if you want, just
You
start.
can
We'll
list
with-
them
list
all?
them all.
Okay.
Yes, for 320.
Okay, so 3:20, Stephen Genovese, Linda Perillo, and Joseph G. Wagner Irrevocable Trust will be all adjourned to 3:20 for decisions.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Make a motion to reopen the application of Michael and Rosa Federico to accept written submissions.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I now make a motion to close and render a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I make a motion to reopen the application of Susan Baumel Cornicello and Anthony Cornicello to accept written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
I now make a motion to close and render a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I make a motion to reopen the application of Ocean View X LLC to accept written submissions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I now make a motion to close and render the decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, going back to 1.
Going back to number 1. Nicholas Lawrence and Raya Backer, 14 Reenack Road, Remsenburg, New York, 900-381-3-30. Applicant requests the following relief from Town Code Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensions Regulations. An accessory side yard setback from the required 20 feet to 13.5 to legalize a pool deck constructed without the benefit of a building permit. And 2, an accessory yard setback from the required 20 feet to 16.5 feet to legalize a pergola constructed without the benefit of building permit and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley.
Okay, so Daphne, tell us about this application.
So I'm passing out some additional photos. I did submit a package with the original application, so these are supplementary to that, mainly to show existing screening between the subject and adjacent properties. So this property is located on the northwest corner of Ringneck Road and Woodcock Lane in Remsenburg, and is also known as Lot 72 of the subdivision of Roger Vasiles. Section 2 that was filed in February 1968. The subdivision at that time was zoned A residence, but was upzoned to R40 back in 1972. So a single and separate search was completed, showing that it was in common ownership with the parcel to the southeast, also known as 5 Woodcock, until December 11th, 1979. So prior to that date, both parcels were vacant and undeveloped. The subject and adjacent parcels were both developed around the same time, receiving COs back in 1985. Both developed under R40 zoning. So copies of those were submitted with the application.
What are you doing, a single and separate
No,
analysis?
I'm just
Because it's a
giving you-
conforming lot, yes?
It is conforming.
Okay, it does, single and separate doesn't matter.
Okay. So, but in theory, if it was developed originally under the A zoning, it would have been allowed 10-foot accessory setbacks. Once the upzone occurred, those accessory setbacks increased to 20 feet. So that's the point.
I guess, but it's R40 now, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's 40,000 square feet.
So the current owners, my clients, purchased the property back in 2021. As it currently exists, with the existing swimming pool, decking, pergola, and outdoor shower. And last winter, they hired a contractor to repair the deck by replacing the deck boards and any framing that was rotted, because it's a pretty old deck. So during that time, they received a stop work order last February because they didn't realize they needed a building permit. And my office worked with them last spring and summer to get a conservation board wetland permit because this property does front on a dug canal. And we did that. A copy of that permit was submitted as part of our package. So we then, once we had the wetland permit, we filed for a building permit for the repair of the deck. And we received a notice of incomplete from the building department that the existing deck is larger than the one that was originally granted a CO back in 1985. So once we went back and reviewed historical aerials, we realized that the person that they bought the property from about 20 years ago expanded the deck both to the south and slightly to the east. So, and in conjunction with that expansion of the deck, that arbor was constructed as well as the outdoor shower. So at this time, we're seeking variances to legalize the deck expansion and the pergola as they are in place. The deck is at 13.5 feet where 20 feet is required, requiring a side yard setback variance from 330/11 for 6.5 feet. And the pergola is at 16.5 feet from the side yard, requiring a 3.5 foot setback variance.
Is the pergola the arbor?
Yes.
Stephanie? Okay.
Yeah, some people call it an arbor, some
Yep.
call it,
That white thing is
yes,
And Bob calls it a white
Wow.
thing.
exactly.
white.
Semantics. So the expansion of the deck and the addition of the pergola were both completed by the prior owner. Unbeknownst to my client, the structures are evident in the historical aerials, mainly between 2001 and 2004 is when that change occurred. That was part of my original photo submission. In the aerial here, you can see that the deck was very close to the pool on the south and east sides originally, and then became larger, basically for maneuverability, I would imagine, because it was very tight. What else do I have to say? So yeah, we were talking about safe accessibility to the pool on all four sides. My current clients have two very small children, so their concern for safety is very huge. And part of the finishing of this deck will include a safety fence, one of those ones that kind of fits into the deck, which they can't complete until they have the permit to finish the deck that is now sitting there partially done. So what else do I have to say? The property, I submitted those photos to show you the large, very large evergreen screening that is between their property and the two properties to the east of them that are both developed. The lot coverage on this is 13.7%, where 20% is allowed. It is a corner lot, so that kind of limits where they're allowed to place accessory structures. And that's it. They were really just in the process of making repairs. None of this was known to anyone until they got the stop work order. They just thought they could maintain their deck without having to worry about it, not knowing about wetlands, etc. So they've been in court, and we're trying to get this all resolved. And here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, whose is this? This is Kevin.
Yes.
You want to start us off?
So, the lot is constrained. You have 3 front yards. If you count the water as one, I'm not sure which one you're calling it front, but nevertheless, there's, looks like 3. And if you were putting anything on the property, obviously it would be in the area where the activity occurred, based on the lot layout. What was the additional deck added both to the east and the south from what the original building permit?
So it was
If
pretty
you know.
close to the limits of the pool, so I can tell you.
I mean, roughly, I'm not holding you to
just
Precise
roughly,
calculation.
it's about, well, right now it's about 10 feet from the edge of the deck to the edge of the pool, so figure it was probably expanded by 7 feet
Okay.
toward the side lot line. And probably more than that to the south, but the south doesn't require variance.
Right, right. Okay.
It's merely the expansion toward the property line. But again, I wanted to bring up the fact that it was upzoned, and had this been developed during the original zoning district, they would have been allowed a 10-foot setback. But because the lot was still conforming after the upzone, they were subject to the R40. So the original intent of the subdivision was to have 10-foot side yard setbacks for accessory structures.
I don't have any massive issues with this application. I'll defer to my colleagues for any comments.
Seems like there's a significant screening.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
You know, evergreens, they look well mature. This is a deck that he's repairing, that pretty much existed for 20 years.
Right. No one even
Have
knew.
you heard from any of the neighbors?
Nope.
No, okay. Anybody have any comments?
Maybe stipulate to maintaining that screen? Does that make
I
sense?
think that makes sense. Katie, stipulation that the screening be maintained?
Sure, is
Um,
the screening on the applicant's property?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 14 Ring Neck Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 14 Ring Neck Road?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, Kevin, this is yours.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing with written comments, close the business on 3/21 with the decision on 4/3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Mastono?
Aye.
Mr. Redden?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Daphne.
Thank you. I'm here for number 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm here all night, so.
Number
right.
2 on tonight's calendar. Jennifer Weinraub et al., 107 Edgemere Drive, North Sea, New York, section 900-32-1-11. Applicant requests relief from Town Code section 330-84D, pyramid law for a total sky plane encroachment of 12,480 cubic feet, 9,757 cubic feet on the west, and 2,723 cubic feet on the east for a proposed second-story addition to a one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Court has jurisdiction. Do you have another, do
Let me swear you in.
you have another one? Because there's only 4.
That's because she has 3 of them.
But yeah, I want to let you know.
Okay, well, I don't have enough for each board member, is my point.
Okay.
We can share.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Okay, while we're passing around, let's swear you in. Are any of you attorneys?
I am.
Okay. Okay, then you don't need to get sworn in.
Okay.
Just have to tell the truth.
Retired attorney, but I'm still an attorney.
That's okay. Let me swear the two of you in.
So you guys don't have to tell the truth?
Yes, you do. This is a new application. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right, please individually state your name and addresses, and you can as well.
You can go first.
David Weinraub, 128 Ridgeway, Stone Ridge, New York, 12484.
Okay, David.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley.
John Van Velsor, architect, 74 Josephine Drive, Wading River, New York.
Can I just say your last name?
All right, well, can you say it out loud so I can write it too? Spell your last name.
V is in Victor, A-N, another V is in Victor, E-L-S-O-R.
Okay, I would never have gotten
Did
that.
everybody get a copy? Hold on, did everybody get a copy of the submission? Who's missing?
What do we,
have 4 of them?
yeah, well, we only have 4.
I don't know, I'm asking.
I think everything.
Another one? I'm just passing this stuff
It
around.
doesn't matter.
I'm sorry
No,
about
I
that.
only have one that I have, and I can make another copy.
All right, I
You
think
said
we,
number 3.
I think we're all pretty
No,
well.
we need
set.
I wanted to give you some visual aids.
Yes, okay. All right, so
It's fine, Ken,
Daphne,
they can share.
Daphne, tell us about this application.
Sure. So, this property is located on the north side of Edgemere Drive in North Sea. in an R40 zoning district. It's non-conforming to the zone at 20,098 square feet, and also with a lot width of 40.01 feet where 150 feet is required. The property currently contains a one-story unconditioned single-family residence with a detached garage and outdoor shower. It benefits from a pre-existing certificate of occupancy issued on September 15, 1969. For the existing residence, it's listed as a summer camp, which we can discuss later, as well as a certificate of compliance for the detached one-car garage that was issued to Martin Weinrapp, the father of my clients, back in March of 1977. And a more recent certificate of compliance for the existing outdoor shower and interior renovation for a finished room and bathroom within the detached garage, which my office did back in November of 2023. So this property fronts on Peconic Bay and also contains an interior freshwater wetland on the south side of the property, adjacent to the road. So we received a New York State DEC letter of non-jurisdiction. This property has also received non-jurisdictions from the town, as well as an administrative wetland permit for the outdoor shower and for an upgrade of the sanitary system to an IA system in recent times.
But not for this proposal,
Uh,
the wetlands proposal.
no, well, this is outside of their jurisdiction.
Okay.
So
From both
non-jurisdiction for the house and,
directions.
and administrative for the other one, you said?
We actually didn't apply for a non-jurisdiction. I have to talk to Marty because I feel like this is one of those cases that he would just kind of talk to the building department.
Okay.
Because prior letters of non-jurisdiction have been issued and permits, and the house itself is beyond the 50-foot setback from the concrete bulkhead and beyond 200 feet from the interior freshwater wetland.
Okay.
So this property's been family-owned for many years, where the owners, who are all siblings with their father, have spent most of their childhood summers growing up. So since their family has grown to include additional children, grandchildren, etc., the residence is no longer able to accommodate their needs. So at this time, they're seeking to add a full second-story addition to this one-story residence. The addition will include 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom on the second floor with a small second-floor balcony. One of the 3 very small bedrooms on the first floor will be eliminated to accommodate a stairway to access the second floor. So the house will have a total of 5 bedrooms. The proposed second floor addition will be located entirely within the existing footprint of the structure, with that small second floor deck also within the footprint. So due to the narrow nature of this lot at only 40 feet wide, in order to construct the proposed addition, a variance is needed from the Pyramid Encroachment 330-84D in the total amount of 12,480 cubic feet, with 9,757 cubic feet on the east side and 2,723 cubic feet on the west side. I did realize when I was writing my speech here that the plans are opposite. What is shown as west should be east and east should be west, so that will have to be fixed.
The architectural plans, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So the existing residence is located at its closest point, only 2.5 feet from that eastern lot line, but 12.7 feet from the western lot line. So the pre-existing non-conforming pyramid of the existing residence is 3,120 cubic feet. And again, it's only a 1-story bungalow that's unheated right now.
Sorry, say it one more time, Dorothy. The existing
The
pyramid?
existing is 3,120. So essentially, with these lots, anytime you add on to them even 2 feet higher in the roof elevation, you're going to need additional pyramid variance because it's so narrow. Um,
All pre-existing.
Yes. So the proposed second floor expansion of the residence is totally within the existing footprint. I think I probably said that twice already. And will serve to better accommodate the family's needs. The new proposed pyramid encroachment, in addition to that pre-existing, is 9,360 cubic feet. That's in excess of that. So the proposed roof line, which John, the architect here, can speak more to, is at the minimum pitch needed to minimize the encroachment of the second floor. The surrounding neighborhood characteristically contains a mix of both 1 and 2 story residences. On many of them are on undersized lots. This proposed project is in keeping with the character of the surrounding neighborhood. It's very difficult to place an addition on this residence that would otherwise accommodate the family's needs. As I mentioned, we upgraded the sanitary system for this property a couple of years ago. The health department allowed for it to be oversized to accommodate 6 bedrooms in anticipation of doing this potential project, and also to accommodate that room that's within the garage. So the existence of that septic system further constraints putting an addition on this property on the ground level, because the sanitary system is located between the garage and the structure. So there's not much room for expansion in that regard. And also we have wetland
What kind of room
constraints.
is there?
What kind of room exists from the house, between the house and the garage?
Between the house, hold on.
And is that the new sanitary system
Yes.
that you put there?
The new sanitary has been installed. It's been approved, finalized by the health department.
How long ago?
2 years,
Yeah, a few years.
a couple of years ago.
And that was done,
The old septic was failing, so
Yeah,
we had
no, I
to do, we were
understand.
pumping it, and they told us this is what we should do, so we did, and then
No,
we
I
did it.
understand.
so there's about 43 feet between the house and the garage. Between the house and the septic tank, there's about, looks like 30 feet. So there may be some space there, because I believe the minimum is 10 feet for the tank to the residence. However, I don't know about foundation work when you already have this system installed, if that would be something you'd have to fully, I don't know about logistics of that stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna put a foundation here,
I do know what you're saying, but I think you know what we're going to be saying.
Okay.
So,
let me finish.
yeah, finish up, and then we can get to it.
Sure. Okay, so I was involved in the expansion part. I gave you these photos because they show wonderfully what is happening. So the house on the east received a variance a number of years ago for a partial second floor addition to the existing residence with a second floor deck similar to this residence. Except we're proposing it over the footprint of the entire house. And the other house to the west, I did the variances for that, and that was a complete demo reconstruct.
Can you clarify what this is? Is this a demo reconstruct?
No,
Or
this
is
is
it
an addition to the existing residence.
okay.
So part of the reason we had a variance on that one, I gave you a handy dandy chart of the variances that were granted
All right, which
within-
ones are you talking about on this chart?
Okay, so 109 Edgemere
Yeah,
is, wait a minute, 109 Edgemere
It's next door.
is next door to
Is
the
that-
east.
That's,
is that,
Yes, that's the east.
it's east or north?
No, it's
South.
east and west.
Well,
I don't-
East and-
Yeah, it's east.
All right, east, okay.
And that was for 5,412 cubic feet.
Uh-huh.
And that lot is actually 5.5 feet wider than this lot is. 105 Edgemere is the one that I did in 2020. And I will tell you, I came back to this board 3 times to obtain this variance for that lot, and we came back with 7,440 cubic feet. And that was for a complete redo, and part of the reason it's less than what we're proposing here is because of the foundation work that was proposed. They did a sill plate which sinks the house into the foundation. I don't fully understand it. Maybe John can
Sure.
explain.
Yeah,
Which one is that? Which number?
105. That's to the west.
Yeah.
The one with the aluminum siding.
The gray one.
Right.
So when you look at the photos, you can see that they're the odd man out in the middle of these 2 houses, and they're looking to do something similar without changing the integrity of the first floor too much. Where was I? Yeah, so the lot coverage here is 8.1%, where 20% is allowed. We have letters from the neighbors on both sides that they have no issue with the project. And the last thing that I gave you is a copy of a FEMA map that shows that this area is not in a flood zone, but the neighborhoods to the east and west are in AE flood zones. And a lot of those houses are built on pilings, so they're much higher in elevation, where we don't have to do that here, and we are not subject to FEMA, so we're using average natural grade, which is kind of punishing us in that regard, especially due to the narrow nature of the lot.
What's the difference between the grade where you're putting the house and you're not measuring the pyramid from where the front meets the road, right? How are you measuring?
It's from the average natural grade across the street side of the house.
Okay, and what's the difference between the street side of the house is 12 feet and average natural grade where the house is roughly what?
No, it's across the front of the existing residence, but on the
Oh.
street side.
Okay, thank
So it's at like 9 point something.
9.65.
Yeah. Where if this wasn't a flood zone, typical flood zones here are like AE6, so the first floor elevation would be allowed at 8, and then you'd start higher, but obviously the grade here is different than that. So as you can see in my chart, there's been a number of variances issued. Oak Grove Road is further east of here, but not very far. And you've got 5,300, 3,000, and these are for 2-story residences on wider properties that are 68, 75 feet approximately. Lake Drive is a little bit further to the east, and East Shore Road is to the west. That should say west, I believe. And then, of course, I show some properties that this board's granted variances to in a neighborhood that's not very far from here in Noyak with 30-foot wide lots, for one as much as almost 21,000 cubic feet.
10 years ago.
And we don't know what the
Nonetheless,
underlying
When you're
facts
stuck
are
with-
on that particular case, so we're
And
not
that one
dealing
was in a
with that.
flood zone.
Okay. Bob, this is yours. Do you want to start us off on,
I guess the actual question, is there any other way? Because it's a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Is there any way,
You-
other way?
We-
You have lot coverage you can still utilize. Is there any other way to achieve what you want?
Right.
With the bedrooms without,
Doing the second story.
not even a second story, but
Okay,
maybe less of a second story,
I see.
less of a pyramid.
yeah, I'm sure we can explore that as a possibility. What we did do, as Daphne had mentioned, I lowered the roof pitch to 3 on 12 for asphalt shingles. Also, I dropped the plate height at the walls for the second floor down to 7 feet. And so it'll be a camper type ceiling.
And the first floor is 8 foot?
First floor, we're proposing to be 10 feet. Which
No,
is
it's
something
not
else that
8
we
feet,
can-
yeah.
Yeah, that's
10
something.
and
that would
7.
be First thing.
And
we
the
would
second
say.
floor is,
Seven.
what would you consider? It's not at 7, it's 7 at the walls.
Just at the wall, but it would be an 8-foot-high ceiling.
8-foot height,
Yeah, the ceiling joists would be set at 8 feet. So we could certainly take the 2 feet off the first floor. and
Would-
Lower that.
I mean, I'm not gonna hold with that. Do you know how much that would reduce it, or?
Well, it will be 2 feet times the floor area of the first floor.
I think that's one of the many things that we're
Yeah.
gonna be asking you to take a look at, because not just ceiling heights, but using, we've asked other property owners to consider expansion, on these narrow, lots to extend the first floors.
Right.
Now, I understand you got a new septic system, but I don't know. I mean, if you really, depending on how much room you want and what we'd be willing to grant, you may have to take another look at that, whether it needs to be relocated. But I think, we ask Daphne all the time to be creative. This is extraordinary amount of, pyramid relief,
Right.
which we are probably not inclined to approve. So I think that, we're going to ask you to take a very hard look and see if you can be creative in trying to come back with something that we could possibly live with. Understanding it's a narrow lot, and also understanding that you're not in a flood zone, but we don't write these maps. So, we're not trying to legislate, flood zones.
Sure.
So, that's all I have to say. Does anybody else want to?
I mean, I agree with what you've said, and I would just add the space between the house and the new septic. Is there some room there without even moving the septic
Yeah.
to do something so it's less up, requiring pyramid, and more back?
Right, it's you've got a lot of property there. I mean, I
Right.
understand you've got the pond at the end and everything else, but there's,
No, there's no pond, there's like a little wetland.
yeah, whatever it is, yeah. But I mean, it's a huge amount of space, I mean, that you've got going back to the road. And you've crowded everything up to the front, which is, natural, it's the water views and everything else, but there's a lot of land. So we try to look at other conforming locations for, we try to do a minimal amount of variance relief. We're charged with trying to come up with a minimal amount. And so, we look for creativity.
So the one thing before David speaks, if you do expand on the first floor, just know that in order to expand on the first floor, you would still need pyramid essentially.
Probably, yes.
Because
It's very
of
narrow.
that 2.5-foot setback. So
yeah.
I don't know if it would make a significant difference to expand on the first floor versus what we're doing on the second floor.
Interesting to see what the possibilities are. Yes, we
Okay.
understand.
So I agree with everybody else's prior comments, and, this is a situation we run into. You're here enough to see it. If you got a real long lot, you really can't build a house that sits 90 degrees turned to that. I know this is not what you're proposing, but I'm a little concerned, not a little, a bit concerned about I'm not so sure I agree that this fits in quite so well as some of the adjacent properties. Notwithstanding the pictures, that was helpful. We would encourage you to do a bit better, or a lot better, but please work this problem. Thank you.
Okay.
I did go through the neighborhood. I went to see the site, and I looked, and a lot of the houses that are taller are on bigger pieces of property. I mean, they've got wider property dimensions and stuff. So, it's, and like you said, it's a combination of 1-story and 2-story homes. You just happen to be in between two-story homes.
Right, who've been through this process
Yes,
already.
right, but they also didn't come up with 12,480 cubic feet. So,
I did start with that on the one next door, but again, that one was a full demo reconstruct. They're trying to salvage the house. So I think David.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I feel, thanks for the opportunity to speak. So we've owned this house a long time. I was 12 or so when we bought it. I'm 67, so whatever it is, 50-something years. It's a small house. The bedrooms are, 8 by 10. There's 3 bedrooms. We've always crushed in there. I have 2 sisters. We each have kids, some grandkids. We all try to hang out together. It's just not been working anymore. This picture, it's hard to believe, but this is the only original house. This is the one that she submitted. We're the middle one. These were 3 identical houses built for 3 daughters. What we were told when we bought the house by a father. He had 3 daughters, and he built each of them a house on one lot. We're in the middle.
That's why the CO says.
And Jay's house next door it was identical. He just lifted it up, and we're proposing to go basically to the same level as his. The reason I think, and I'm not obviously an architect, but the houses were all on stilts when we bought them. They're 3 feet higher than the ground because I guess it was for flood reason. And then maybe 40 years ago, my folks put block around it to make it so it wouldn't shake or whatever. But the reason I think we're having pyramid problems is just because that's how they built. Well, this house was Tina demolished her house, but these 2 are 3 feet above the ground because of there's steps to go in. And so all we're asking is to have, I understand there's this technical issue about the permit and you're trying to preserve certain requirements that to limit development to make it sightly. It's by far the smallest house on the strip. There's one way down, about 15 houses down, it's about the same size. There's just big houses everywhere and we can't see why it's like, if you look at these, I know it's a small lot. It's definitely the smallest lot because it's the third of a lot. But we're not going any higher than the other 2 houses, and it would allow us to keep the house, which we've owned for over 50 years, and allow us to continue to use it. So I understand that it's not within the normal pyramid rules, and it's perhaps a variance that's greater than you guys feel comfortable from what you're saying, but to us, and I'm encouraging you to rethink it a little bit, it's really going to allow us just to have the same height as the other 2 and continue to use the house. Yes.
Consider this. So there's the number of how many cubic feet, and then it's the design and where it is and how it looks from the water or the street, right?
It's going to be identical to Jay's house.
I get that. So I think come back and show us after you've done whatever work you think you need to do. Make that point again. See if you can trim some off.
We will, but just so it's clear, Jay, it's the same architect. Jay's our neighbor. He's a friend of ours. He's the builder. He built his house. We're using Jay to build our house. When I went into his house, he said, "This is fine. We could make the 3 bedrooms upstairs and we could continue using it." And that's basically, John was the architect for that job. It was about 10 years ago when Jay built it. But it's the same idea and the same plans. It's going to look identical in the front and in the back. The only thing is different is that his is set back, 6 feet, 8 feet from the second floor from the end of
From the street side of the house.
street side. I call that the back side, the street side. And ours was going to go we figure we go to the end if that's possible. That's the only difference because we want 3 bedrooms. He only has 2 upstairs. But it's going to visually, on both sides, it's going to look identical.
We appreciate that, and we understand it, but we're looking at what minimal amount of variance we can grant so that you don't have a hardship with your, so we're asking you to be creative, come back, tell us what you can do. Not every house is going to be cookie cutter and look exactly the same as every other house. We've got certain standards that we're looking for.
Okay, one last thing on the back, which we talked about, and we decided not to go back there. There's a number of trees there. There's a big garden there. There's a small area between the garage and the house. It's 40 feet, and there's a septic line now and the septic there. And we planted this, my wife has planted this big garden there. And there's trees and other things, so it would mean really ripping up the whole garden. I'm just explaining.
It's priorities. What do you want? Do you want a garden? Do you want a house?
Well,
I think, so what we're saying is thank you very much, but, we're trying to, come up with, I understand, you're making your arguments, and you can come back with those same arguments.
Is there a cubic foot?
No, we don't give it an amount. But I would say, Daphne's been around a long time. She understands very much where we come from on this, and we're looking for creativity. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Robert, this is yours.
This is mine, so, Dad, you want to hold it open?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry.
Public.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application of 107 Edgemere Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard? Up, okay.
It's my sister.
All
We
right.
have somebody.
Are you an attorney? You're, we need
You're
to
off.
hear you.
No,
You're
no.
muted. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Hi,
Hi.
Gotcha.
Let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes,
Please state your name and address.
Jennifer Weinraub, 121 Cayuga Park Road, Ithaca, New York.
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to give your comments?
Yeah, I really just wanted to let you know that I'm also listening in. I'm supporting what my brother has had to say about how we have really outgrown the house. And in the issue of the septic, they're really, I mean, this is obviously, as you well know, a very expensive septic system that, we don't really want to have to move. And I think putting a foundation over, a septic line is, probably not feasible. As for the rest of the lot, it's, what you're talking about is building an entirely separate structure from the house if you're going to use any of the remainder of the lot, which, again, really wouldn't fit our needs. So that's really all I wanted to add in, and also reiterate that, we're in hopes that you understand, we have a somewhat unusual situation being the middle house of what was once 3 identical homes. And we're just trying to make it a little more usable for our family. Thank you.
No, we do understand that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Robert.
We're gonna hold it open, Deb. How long do you? We have
We-
April 3rd, April 17th.
That's still in
April 3rd?
contingency.
Okay, so we're gonna hold open the until April 3rd.
Is there a second? Second. Mr. Mester.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, we'll see you April
Thank you.
3rd.
See you then.
Chisholm.
You're back. Okay. We'll see you later.
Okay, number 4 on tonight's calendar, Kevin Chisholm, 918 North Sea Road, North Sea, New York, 900-112-2-6. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of Town Code for a detached garage, Section 330-6, General Regulations that references 330-11, Residence Districts, Table of Dimensions Regulations for an accessory front yard setback from 40 feet to 36.5, and 2, Section 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C, yards to allow the detached garage to be located within both the required front yard and the required total side yard for the principal building, and Section 330-76A to allow the distance between the main building, the house, and the garage to be 3.8 feet, where a minimum of 5 feet is required, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
We got it all.
Okay, are either of you attorneys?
No.
Let me swear you in then. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name and address separately.
Oscar Vasquez,
Okay,
23 Gravel Hill Road, Hampton Bays, New York.
okay, ask.
I'm Chris Vasquez, 23 Gravel Hill Road, Hampton Bays.
Okay, so tell us about your application.
Let me say,
So we got this variance application from surprise because we were going for actually final inspection, and we actually were the second contractors on the job, and the past contractor got approved permits and everything and did additions of the garage and the main house that were all approved allegedly. And then once we went for inspection, the inspector noticed that there were setback violations.
So they got the building permit that permitted them to build where they said they built,
Yes.
but then the building department came
No.
back and said, you
Yes.
made an error.
Yes. And it is also minimal setback. It's only 10 foot, and it's a flag lot too. So you don't really see, no one would really notice it or see it.
Julie, this is yours.
Yeah, I did go over to the property. It is it's kind of isolated over there, and it
Yeah.
is a long flag lot. I wasn't terribly troubled by what I saw you were attempting to do. I don't know if others on the board have concerns, but it just didn't seem to me to be highly problematic.
You say the building permit was issued
Yes.
Yes.
and then built and then,
It was
Yeah,
issued
we-
in error.
I specifically got the plans that we gave to the town, the original copies, and then they should be the ones we gave you guys.
and you're the second contractor on the job,
Yes.
and it went for the inspections and the soils.
Yes.
All right.
It would be pretty costly to tear down and,
Yes.
Well,
Be a whole
and
two stories.
and as you said, minimal
Yeah.
variance requests.
Yeah.
And Julie, you inspected the property and you
Yes, I
agree?
did. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
no, I have no problem with it.
Beautiful.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 918 North Sea Road, North Sea? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard? Okay, Julie, this is yours.
Okay, we are going to close the public hearing, keep it open for written submissions until March 21, with a written decision for April 3.
April 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Rep?
Aye.
Mr. Pastonio?
Aye.
I vote aye. So, thank you very much, and there'll
Thank
be a
you.
decision on
Thank you,
April
guys. Thank you very much.
3rd.
Yep, perfect.
Thanks.
Just apologize in advance.
Nerman.
All right.
Number 5 on tonight's calendar, Nerman, and I apologize, Bertodovic? Okay, close enough.
What is it?
Verbrudovic?
Verbrudovic.
Okay, I apologize in advance for
It's an interesting name.
slaughtering your name. 215 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, New York, section 900-207-5-2.11. Applicant requests relief from Town Code section 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensions Regulations to allow Lot 1 of a proposed two-lot subdivision to be 17,236 square feet, where a minimum of 20,000 square feet is required.
The board has jurisdiction, and I do want to say for the record that this application actually would have qualified for a minor variance review. So just keep that in mind.
Yes, well, yeah, it's pretty. Okay. Any lawyers?
No,
Okay, so let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, please state your name and address.
I'm Sarah Churchill from North Star Engineering, 185 Thunder Road in Holbrook, New York, 11741.
Okay.
Maggie Vabrica. It's VAV.
Is that how, oh no, that's Maggie? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Maggie Vabrica. VAVRICA. Also from North.
VAVRICA?
Yes. 11 Florence Street, Center Reach, New York, 11720.
Okay, great. No, I asked.
I'm taking it.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so tell us about the application.
Sure. So we are in zone R20. This is for a proposed two-lot land division. And we are seeking an area variance where the total gross lot area is 40,002 square feet. However, due to the lot configuration that's proposed of a flag lot, Lot 1, we're proposing to be 17,236 square feet, and Lot 2 would be 20,128 square feet, excluding the flag strip. The reason for this is because of the flag strip required to access Lot 2. We would be able to accommodate two lots as of right in Zone R20 due to the total gross lot area. However, because the planning board requested a 50-foot buffer in the rear to the railroad, the architect we have on board with the configuration of the building envelope, it just made more sense to make Lot 2 a little bit bigger in the rear.
Also, if we split the lots down the middle, we wouldn't meet the required road frontage.
Okay. Is there any?
So I am taking this for our colleague Helen, who is not here tonight. I did not see the property. It certainly seems like a reasonable proposal to me, unless I'm missing something.
No, I think it's,
It would have qualified as a minor almost, is that right?
Yes, yes, and also, just for the record, there's also that provision in the town code that says that, the applicant needs to show that a development right, has either been exhausted or brought in for if there's a creation of a non-conforming lot, but that's not necessary here, again, because the relief is minor. There's a section that says excludes it if you're looking for minor relief for either lot area or lot width.
okay, one of the things I did notice, though, on the materials is that your building lot, the buildable area you have identified, meeting all of the setbacks. And I would assume that you'd be committing to meeting those setbacks on the development of the property.
Yes.
Okay, so that could be part of the,
No additional variances, I mean?
yeah.
I mean,
You can't even put that.
typically you don't do that, particularly, I mean, it is nice that they show a
Alright.
conforming
As long
building
as we say
envelope.
it's in keeping with the survey as presented.
Well, again, just let me finish. You're not approving these building envelopes.
No.
You're
I
approving the
understand.
subdivision. They're showing the building envelope, so they show that they can have a conforming location, but that doesn't preclude the person who buys it from coming in here and saying, hey, I want this. I mean, you could say, oh, when we saw this subdivision, we saw that there is a conforming.
Okay,
But those folks would have to come in for relief
Yes.
if they
Yeah, come in
want.
for separate relief.
separate relief.
Correct. So
Okay,
we would, if you're inclined to grant the variance, you're not approving these building envelopes.
Correct.
okay.
I have
Anybody else?
a couple of items.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So, when I was going to find the lot, I went into the wrong driveway. There is a driveway there, and I saw what's behind the commercial development that's there, which is sort of, I've seen worse, right? And then when you go behind the parking lot, there's like 40 cars. And, Anthony, you may know this, but it's, so you have clearing restrictions here. And, go ahead.
Well, so let me just, so,
Well, you know where I'm going with this.
It's not in the
What's
act-
the screening between the subdivision and the adjacent property so that for the rest of eternity, it isn't a perpetual conflict between the two houses that may be occupied and the property right next door, who will likely all hate each other?
well,
Well, that's
Well,
that's a
we
little
can't-
presumptuous.
It is.
well, we know there's a commercial, because the zoning ends, the residential zoning ends with this property along its westerly property
interesting.
line, and then you get the commercial.
It's back.
The planning board will look at, what the planning board did out of the pre-app report. This is not an aquifer protection overlay district.
Okay.
So it's not subject to clearing as a matter of law, but the planning board in their review is requiring a 50-foot buffer on the back from the railroad.
Right.
They're requiring clearing restrictions on the property. So they're going to impose, I believe it was a 50%, so 50% of the vegetation presumably would be left up. We're gonna require a common driveway here because it's on the highway, it's not the greatest location. We probably didn't get too far into how we're gonna deal with the commercial.
The only issue I'm raising, I understand we have a narrow question here, but, when you have a transition between residential and commercial, as starkly as this is, I'm just thinking about how to mitigate any of these issues,
So-
so as to not create a future problem.
So in the town code, just so you know, there are transition setbacks, but they apply to commercial properties being developed adjacent to residential, not residential properties being developed to commercial. There are, the typical requirements. That doesn't mean the planning board won't look at this and suggest, and my guess is that the owner of the property would want to maintain some type of buffer between them, but the code addresses it from commercial to residential, not vice versa.
And Kevin, I just want to be sure I'm appreciating your concern. I get what you're saying, and there's always potential for conflict among and between neighbors, but someone who's going to buy this property that's neighboring the commercial is going to have awareness of that.
It's like buying next to the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me also, I was corrected by counsel. My previous statement was mildly dramatic for the effect of making the point about the conflict. I don't mean it literally, to be clear.
We're not trying to set it up to be a conflict. Is there anybody else on the board? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 215 Montauk Highway? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 215 Montauk Highway?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, so Julie, you're going to take this.
So we are going to close the public hearing, keep it open for written submissions until March 21 with a decision on April 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redpath?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We are now. Number 6, 658 Flying Point LLC, 658 Flying Point Road, Watermill, New York, Section 900-160-3-37.7. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of Town Code, Section 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C, yards to allow a swimming pool to be located within the required front yard for the principal building, and 2, Section 330-83A, Division 4, to allow patio higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located within the required front yard, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
For the applicants, David Gilmartin Jr., Greenberg Troy, 2317 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, New York. If you look at the survey here, you can see the challenges that we're facing. The first of which is Burnett Creek is our front yard. So we have 3 front yards here. So it's that quirk in the code that says the waterfront's the front yard, but it is the natural place to put a pool for privacy and not affecting the neighbors. So that's why we're here, and then the deck surrounding it. One of the unique parts of this application is that we were able to bring the house, the current house can be demolished, and it's going to be brought back, and it's going to be in an X zone. So it's not taking it out of a flood zone in XC11 and going to an X zone. So
Please explain that again to me. So the current house, I saw the current house.
Which is located more in
Close,
here.
oh, it's closer to the water.
Yes, we're able to shift it away from the wetlands, which of course allows us to bring the pool further away from the wetlands. I do have copies of the wetlands permit. I've got 2, one for the final, and whoever's the lead.
David.
Candace.
Candace. Thank you.
So we do have Conservation Board relief for it, and that's really how we ended up where we're at. We obviously don't want to put the pool in the front of the house on the street. And if you look, our septic system, which we're trying to get away from the wetlands, is in an area where you put it. If you look, the rest of the property is burdened with a non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer. If we look at the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood, when I looked at Flying Point Road on this side of the road that borders Burnett Creek, and there are 4 other pools that are located either in a front yard or a side yard. So the character of the neighborhood is to have a property improved with a pool that's not on Flying Point Road. Obviously the challenge with this property, which is highly restrictive, is the wetlands. That was our challenge. I think we've satisfied the Conservation Board, which is a steep, difficult process to get through. Based on those factors, I'd say that this is not a substantial request. The Conservation Board did find it to be a type 2 action, so they found that there would be no impact to the environment. It's a type 2 action here because it's an area variance, so SECRA presumes that there's not a negative impact. As far as a self-created hardship, I would say that this plan, as opposed to what exists, is an improvement over what exists. And then the non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer really runs up to the house in this instance. So it's the only place that we can really put these structures. I think one of the important points when we talk about the environment with pools that are near wetlands is the Conservation Board always requires that they be saltwater pools. So there's no impact if there's a storm and they somehow are compromised. And that is certainly the case here.
There's no existing pool there now.
No,
There is a deck.
there is a deck.
Yeah.
Looks like the neighbor has a pool, right?
Yeah, a couple of the neighbors.
Yeah, 4 of the neighbors. I couldn't tell whether this Brady Family Holdings, it looked like there was a prior approval for it, but I didn't see it on an aerial. But certainly as we head to the north, there are pools. One of them is located within the structure.
Yeah.
But
So I went to the property. It's clearly burdened with all of the wetlands, the thousands of front yards, etc. The thing that really struck me, though, is that there was a real drop-off from the existing patio down to the water. I mean, it's like on a mound.
Yeah.
And what's the story with that?
well,
What's gonna
we're
happen with that?
shifting it closer to the property.
So
I think
you're not going to be cutting into that?
No.
All right, so it'll be south of that mound, more towards the ocean side. I mean, more towards the road.
Yeah, so everything's
All
getting
right.
shifted closer
Okay,
to the
so
road.
because that was a concern of mine, if it was going to be built on that same spot. I mean,
Oh,
it just
yeah.
literally drops off like
Yeah, that,
10,
and
20
that's,
feet.
you see the relief
yes.
that we need is only a foot.
I
That's,
know.
I think that represents the
Right.
best answer to your
Okay.
question. Is
Okay,
that's the relief
good.
we need. I got calls from 2 neighbors. One neighbor wanted access over this existing path, so I gave his information to the property owner, and then there's a neighbor here who wanted us to clear this out to give him a water view. And said my client doesn't want to go to jail. So.
You gave him Marty's number?
Yeah.
Give Mark's number.
But they had, obviously had no problem because the pool's going to be behind, so they don't affect them at all.
Right. I have nothing else to say on this application.
I think you clarified, so the existing, it says, existing retaining wall is the same retaining wall that the photo shows, and you're essentially moving everything back and looking to basically squeeze the pool in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's exactly right. Exactly the point.
Okay.
I'm okay. Oh, so it's going in the existing filled area with no additional fill?
You know what? I don't remember that. That's always a big deal in front of the Conservation Board, and I don't remember that being an issue. So
Yeah, okay. I may be confusing this application with another. Was it their pool above existing grade, or?
Yeah, that was another application we had
That's not this one?
No.
Okay.
Do we have the COM board permit or reso?
Yeah,
Yes,
just
it just
standard.
passed it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Because that was talked about when you were.
Thank you for
After a while, all these bleed together. So-
You'll send them
I
out
hear
to
you.
us, yeah.
Yes.
All right, Candace is going to forward these to us. Thank you very much for highlighting. Reading these is like
I know.
a trick. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 658 Flying Point Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 658 Flying Point Road?
No on Zoom.
Okay, this is mine. So I'm going to close the public hearing and keep it open for written comments until March 21st with a decision on April 3rd.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank
Thank you, David.
See you.
Okay.
Number 7 on tonight's calendar. Lucy Jensen, 63 Oaks Avenue, Flanders, New York, 900-123-3-11. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of Town Code for a proposed shed on a non-conforming lot, Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensions Regulations for an accessory side yard setback from 8 feet to 3 feet, an accessory rear yard setback from 8 feet to 6 feet, and Section 330-84D, pyramid law for a sky plane encroachment to the west and to the south of 445 cubic feet, and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction. We have the agent on Zoom.
Okay, are you an attorney?
No, I am not.
Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
John Bracco, architect, 111 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York.
Okay, John, do you want to tell us about this application?
Surely. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. John Bracco, architect, on behalf of the owner and applicant, Lucy Jensen. We're here before you tonight in regards to a proposed 12-foot by 12-foot shed to be placed on the southwest corner of the rear yard of the property. The proposed shed requires a rear yard variance, 6 feet proposed where 8 feet is required, a side yard variance, 3 feet proposed where 8 feet is required, and lastly, a pyramid law sky plane encroachment of a combined 445 cubic feet to the west and south property lines. The main reason for these variance requests is that the existing home is a one-story frame residence with no basement and no potential attic space for storage. There is also no attached or detached garage, so needless to say, the property has little to no storage space. There is one existing shed which does appear on the certificate of occupancy for the home. The existing shed is 6.2 feet from the rear of the south property line, and although the proposed survey calls out 6 feet for the proposed shed, we would keep the proposed shed in line with the 6.2 feet of the existing shed. So the proposed shed would be getting no closer to the rear property line than the existing shed. In regards to the side yard setback, there is an existing hedgerow on the subject parcel that separates the subject parcel from the neighbor to the west. The proposed shed would be just to the east of the hedgerow. I wanted to also make the Zoning Board of Appeals aware that we did submit this proposal for the shed to the Town Conservation Board, and we did receive a conditional approval of wetlands permit application number A023054, pending the Zoning Board of Appeals decision. The original application to the Conservation Board included a large deck extension to the east side of the existing deck, which was rejected by the Conservation Board due to the proximity to the wetlands. The only thing they did approve was the proposed shed and a very small extension to the west side of the existing deck, as shown on the submitted survey. We received one phone call from the neighbor directly across the street who had a couple of questions for me, which I answered, and he then said he had no issue with the proposed shed. So in conclusion, due to the proximity of the wetlands, this southwest corner of the property is really the only place to propose the shed. And if the board has any questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
All right, I've asked Kevin to take the lead on this, so Kevin?
So I thank you for the presentation. I did go down to the lot, and I think the proposal generally fits the character of the neighborhood. There are other homes, modest-sized houses on modest-sized lots that are similarly situated because of the condition you just described, no basements, often the inability to locate a garage. So I'm perfectly fine with this.
I have a question I hadn't thought of until you just were giving your presentation. Does the existing shed have a variance, or do we need to?
I think he has a CO for it.
You
It
have a
has a
CO for
CO.
the, oh, okay, sorry, good.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Yeah, I have no problem with this application. I think it's a small, very small lot. I mean, you know, like you said, there's difficulty trying to come up with some storage area, and that's certainly reasonable to, ask for this. Anybody else? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on, now is it 63 South Oaks Avenue?
There's 63 Oaks in the computer.
Yeah.
All right.
South Oaks, this is 63 Oaks.
Okay, I tried to go to find this and I couldn't. I ended up in the wrong place. So anyhow, my GPS wouldn't get me there. Okay, is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 63 Oaks Avenue?
One is in.
All right, Kevin, do you want to
Okay,
take
so I'm
this?
going to make a motion to close this hearing with comments, close of business on March 21st for a decision on April 3rd.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, number 10 tonight, Brian Nidegger, 19 Oakhurst Road, Hampton Bays, New York, section 900-191-1-8.
I believe I've sworn you both in
Yeah.
on this previously,
Yes.
correct? So I don't need to do that again, but could you just for the record state your names and address?
Sure. Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley.
Gabby Chillier, architect, 18 Mitchell Road, West Hampton Beach, 11978.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize in advance.
That's okay.
TCHILING.
Yeah, the name is on the plans.
Got
It's pretty long, but I had to type it off the plans one time, so I'm sorry. Thank you. It's okay. It's just the first name, I'm sorry.
Gabby, G-A-B-Y.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so when you were last here, we had some concerns which you have addressed, so do you want to give us the latest?
Sure. So we submitted plans that are dated February 12th with some changes. We did a reduction to the residence to remove the proposed garage from the landward side of the residence, relocate 2 of the bedrooms that were formerly on the second floor down to the first floor in that approximate area where the garage was. We centered that more front portion of the residence on the lot to eliminate any need for pyramid for that front portion. The only 2-story portion of the residence is on the waterfront side. And the only thing on that second floor is a primary bedroom. We're maintaining the pre-existing non-conforming setback on the eastern side of 5.3 feet, and actually lessened the western setback to 11.5 feet. I mean, increased the setback, I should say, not less. We made it bigger. It used to be 8.4 feet. We now have it at 11.5 feet. So that all reduced the pyramid. We have come down 4,738.2 cubic feet from our last proposal. 4738.
What's the total now that we're asking?
The total is 7,957.8 cubic feet. Of that, the pre-existing non-conforming encroachment is 5,436 cubic feet. So the additional requested is 2,522 cubic feet. And again, it's only for that primary bedroom on the second floor. The rest of the house does not need any pyramid.
To clarify, I'm sorry, it's not my application. Go ahead.
No, go ahead if you have a question.
You're gonna have more questions than I'm gonna have. I actually I think you did a great job changing this.
Just clarifying, so there's, refresh my memory on, there were 3 units, 1 is being retired, this is the.
There's actually 4 legal family.
Go through that again.
So the existing residence on the waterfront is actually a 2-family residence. Then there's a legal cottage in between, and then there's the street side cottage.
Right.
So we're removing the 2-family residence and the cottage.
Okay.
So we're going down from 4 to 2.
Okay, and the cottage closest to the road
Is staying.
And that
No work
that's
is
staying, no
proposed.
work's being done, certainly
No.
not at this time, it's not
Right.
part of the application.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what were you gonna say?
I was just saying, I think you did a great job. Nice coming down, the house looks good.
Thank you so much.
It looks beautiful. It looked beautiful before, but it was just a lot. And this looks great. I have no problem with it.
Great.
So just to reiterate for the board, we're allowed a 50% expansion of habitable space, and we're only doing 12.77% here. And we have lot coverage well under 20%, I believe. And we've reduced the footprint by close to 1,000 square feet from the initial proposal.
Daphne, do we have new plans that show the 12.77? Because we advertised it at 12.2, and it just sounded with all the reductions that you were mentioning, it might even go down more, no? Or it's just been reconfigured? I don't care, I mean, it has to be under 50, but I just want to make sure we have those numbers.
Yeah, don't you? Yeah, it's in here.
Okay.
What page is that?
It's on, I think, all the pages that have calculations. A2.
Okay.
A2 has it.
Is it okay, or is it noteworthy?
12.77 increase from existing conditions, yeah. It's on page 8.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's on the plans.
Is it worth noting that the reduction of the other units, as just described as a package, makes me feel better?
Yes, I think it should be noted in the decision that, you know, they're clearly reducing the density.
Yeah, I wouldn't want somebody to
No.
remind us this happened without the other things that also
Yeah,
happened.
no, I mean, you know, I think it's really, I think the things that you've done, you've been very creative. You extended, yes, thank you very much. You extended out the property on the first level.
Gabby was
Yeah,
creative, I should
yes.
say.
Well, Gabby indicated the last meeting he was going to be creative, so we were counting on it. So, no, I'm very pleased to see that you've come up with this. It's a 50-foot lot width, which is tough to work with.
Yes.
And we appreciate the fact that you've done such a good job of trying to accommodate our concerns.
Thank you.
And I also appreciate what Kevin just said about reducing, taking out totally 2 of the residences.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Candace, were we waiting on any referrals for this? I don't have my old notes. Did we have to refer it to anybody?
No, Marty?
No non-jurisdiction.
Oh, no, we got none.
Okay, so no non-board.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare to find 4 legal dwellings in the town.
Okay, we did referrals to Con Board, Planning Commission, and trustees.
Okay.
We did all three.
And Daphne, you said non-jurisdiction from town board?
Yep.
So Marta will just confirm that. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a bulkheaded property, and everything's beyond 50 feet.
Okay.
We do have our responses from Planning Commission and Con Board.
Perfect.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 19 Oakhurst Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 19 Oakhurst Road? Anybody, Peter? No one?
Great.
Okay, this is yours, John.
Thank you. So we're going to close written comments for 321 and a decision for 4th.
Second.
House looks great.
Thank you so much, guys.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes, appreciate the work.
Mr.
Definitely a
McDonald?
little gray.
Aye.
We're taking a vote. Mr. Mastronio? Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
I'm great.
We have one.
Picking up my son, but yet my son tells me.
We have number 11 on tonight's calendar,
Well, he thinks it's 12.
2297 Montauk LLC.
Tell you everything, right?
which is 2797 Montauk, section 900-86-1-3.
Okay.
For the applicant, David Gilmartin Jr., Greenberg Trog, 2317 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. This is my first appearance on this case, replacing prior counsel. I sat down with the applicant and we made some significant changes to the plan. I don't have those finalized, but we're going to be able to withdraw 3 of the requested variances. The only variance that we will need is having the affordable housing in a separate structure than the main office building. And it's I think it's a really good setup. I have a preliminary plan, which I did share with Ms. Redcar, who's representing the neighbors. But this is where the residential building would be and the office building.
And that hasn't changed from the original.
That was the original, and
Yep.
that's the only variance that will remain. We're able to.
There was
reconfigure.
concern about access to Church Street and
Right.
limiting the access to Church Street just to the residents,
Right,
as I recall.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Ms. Reichard, who can obviously speak for herself, but she raised that with me. I began a conversation with the owners.
I think it's a legitimate concern.
It is a legitimate concern. What was raised, and we'll really look at it hard, so I have a very good answer for you the next time, was there may be some engineering issues with that, but an internal sign restricting access, I think, is something that we can agree to and be able to pull.
Three of us never saw this application, just for your.
Nobody's seen this new application.
Okay,
It's going to be a new application, so we're withdrawing some of the
Okay.
various
I'll be
requests.
with, yeah, so
But
there are 3 variances, setback variances, if I remember correctly.
Right.
They were for parking and the parking lot and others, but the physical variances are gonna be withdrawn. And the only variance we're gonna request is for, to have the workforce housing in a separate building than the main building.
Right. Historical district.
Yes.
Application.
We've
What's the
complete-
status on that?
We've completely changed, and again, they're coming together.
Okay.
I was hoping to have it today, but I don't think I'm gonna get it till tomorrow or Monday, but we'll go back.
They need to issue a certificate of appropriateness?
Yeah, we'll get,
Okay.
I think that often happens during the site plan process. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
come on,
when you
let me
go
just
there.
chime in a little bit there.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, I mean, so Dave wasn't involved in this, so,
Right, right.
and planning hasn't seen this. We have a pre-submission application for development of this property. We haven't adopted a pre-submission conference report yet, which identifies the issues, and then we would normally pass that on as the referral comments. I think Dave is going to submit this so we can provide the comments. During the normal course of a site plan application, we make our referrals to the ARB, the Landmarks and Historic District Board, so it will happen at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but this one's also a little different, because this one actually had to go to the Landmarks Board because it's in the
It's
Bull's
in the
Head.
Bull's Head,
It's
yeah,
in the
yeah,
Bull's
yeah.
Head.
And
And
that's
that was,
But they already went there. You already went there. That's what
Yes,
drove the changes to the plan.
and there were, some
Okay.
very significant comments, which we
Very.
hope were addressed, but
Yeah.
they still have to review it, and I have to get it to them. But that's certainly not a part of the process that we could skip,
no,
much as we would like to.
I know, and that was indicated at the
Mm.
last presentation, as I recall. Martha?
Oh, thank you. Members of the board, my name is Martha Reichert. I'm with the law firm Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Corderaro. My colleague Joan McGivern has appeared before, and I believe we put letters into the board's record. We represent a number of neighbors who live in the area, especially on Church Lane. And, Mr. Gilmartin sent me this preliminary plan. We've had some discussion about it. Our objections or our concerns remain the same, which is mostly that we would like to see that if the residential building and the variances are going to be granted to permit the apartment building to be close to Church Lane, to have ingress and egress from Church Lane be limited to that residential structure and to, again, preserve sort of the residential feel, and that sort of addresses some of the transitional yard concerns that we have as well. I think that there's an opportunity for Mr. Gilmartin and I and the property owner to engage in some sort of dialogue and see if we can address those issues. They have to review it from an engineering standpoint. But we would like to work with the applicant to address those concerns and see if that we can make it something that everyone can live with.
Okay, that
The
sounds
planning
really
board
very,
is aware of Church Street. I've dealt with a number of site plan applications on that property. We get the same comments every single time. All that I would say is, obviously, we'll have the planning board look at that. I don't think that that's a bad idea. Obviously, we won't have that discussion with the planning board because we do this then when it comes to access and in conjunction with every other agency that we fire marshal and everything else and fire district. So I think it's a good idea, but I think we have to look at it in planning too to make sure the planning board's on board.
okay,
It is
makes
a
sense.
site plan issue.
And we have to do secret on this. Anthony said it's an unlisted action, which means we need a long form EAF. We have to coordinate.
It's an unlisted action? That's right, okay.
Let's coordinate, the planning board should probably do the secret on this.
I would think so. So we need to do a secret resolution at some point.
I'll coordinate. Dave will get the EAF to me, then we can coordinate.
Okay.
Will do.
It looks like there's, pardon me?
Yes, the long form.
Okay, no, I just wanted to confirm it. Okay.
Okay, looks like there's progress being made, and we're appreciative of the fact that, the client and, your client and the neighbors are talking, which is positive.
At least the lawyers are talking.
At least the lawyers are talking. That's true. Okay, so, what do we do with this? How long do we have to keep
Is there a
this?
lead or is that like
We're gonna have to adjourn this, obviously, so what do you think in terms of timing?
6 weeks, a month?
If I get you the EAF within 2 weeks,
Yeah, we can start coordinating. Get the plans
Are we
and
looking at
stuff.
May 1st?
yeah, that sounds good.
Let's do that, and then
Okay.
if we need more, we can always do that.
Okay, so I move to adjourn this application to May 1st.
Second.
Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Oh, wait, let me ask. Anybody in the audience wishes to be heard on this matter? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 2297 Montauk Highway?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, sorry. So, Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, we'll see you on the
May 1st.
1st of May.
Thank you.
Number 15 on tonight's calendar, Michael Sonnenfeld, 1135 Mecox Road, Bridgehampton, New York, section 900-134-2-25.2, applicant. I don't have to do that. Okay. How are you?
Good evening, how are you?
Good. Sit in the middle is fine.
She's more important.
Oh, no, she's coming up, okay. She's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you?
Oh, no. This is my notes, Candace. Okay.
Okay, let me
Hold on
swear
one
you
second.
in. Are you an attorney?
Thank you.
Not legally.
Don't say that. You're on tape. All right, Daphne, let me swear you both in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley, New York.
For Sonnenfeld, 1111 Mecox Road, Bridgehampton, New York.
Okay. All right, so we were last here. We had some issues. Why don't you tell us what's going on?
Yes, so when we were last here, we had discussed the prior variance that was issued for the residents that we're proposing that is very similar to one that was previously approved in 2017. It was my understanding at the last meeting that the board did not really have any issues with the variances proposed for the house because they were in keeping with or less than those granted in the prior variance. However, the issue that we were mainly discussing, is the double fence lines that we're showing on this property, which is a corner lot that fronts on both Ocean Road and Mecox Road and contains a pond that is regulated by both the Town Conservation Board and the DEC. We received permits for the project as proposed, including this double fence line, which is proposed for a number of reasons. But the fence is essentially a 4-foot wire fence on the actual property lines that will be elevated 6 to 8 inches above the grade to allow for movement of small critters.
Does that make it 4'6" or 4
No,
foot?
it's 4 feet to the
Okay.
top. And then 5 feet of proposed native hedge in between that, and a proposed 6-foot fence that would be opaque, made of wood, and also elevated 6 to 8 inches above grade. So I prepared a whole submission to give the board more details on this. I also met with Sean McDermott to confirm what's allowed. There's a couple variances that we are seeking for this. Primarily, corner clearance, which is 330-103. 3? Yes. I did submit photos showing the location of the fence and noted that the shoulder on this, that's the town right-of-way, I guess we'll call it, is wider than normal corners. I had provided a corner clearance sketch showing what's required from the actual property line to the 50-foot triangle. but then I provided a sketch that shows from the actual center lines of the road that the corner clearance is very minimal, that we would be seeking.
And that would be this. Is that correct?
That's what would be required. I did provide another sketch in a prior submission that shows from the center line of the road that
Are you talking
triangle-
Mecox Road and Ocean, or just
Yeah.
Mecox?
Both.
Okay.
So basically, this same triangle, when you take it to the center lines of the road, the code is kind of vague in that regard. But if you took it from the actual road where people are driving, it's only a very small portion of the corner that still sits within that corner clearance.
Okay.
I provided a lot of photos that show the visibility from Mecox and Ocean Road from all directions. There is a stop sign on Mecox Road. We do have wetlands permits for the approval of all of this. The large majority of this property is covenanted as a naturally vegetated, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer. The entire western side will be revegetated with native vegetation.
Which is that?
The eastern side, it's the eastern side. which
Yeah,
is
between
surrounding
the house
property.
and the pond.
That
Yes.
is all being
Right,
agreed.
right.
So one of the things I also provided to you in my latest submission is a sketch that I met with Sean McDermott and went over the code with him of what we're actually allowed per 330-109. And it's really this very narrow amount of 6-foot fence that we would legally be allowed to place.
Right.
So the uniqueness of this lot is that typically when you have a corner property, a house is not situated, technically the house is in the required rear yard because there's nowhere else to put it based upon the wetlands. So theoretically, if this were a normal property, the house would be where the pond is. And theoretically, then we would be allowed to have 6-foot fence going all the way up to wherever the back of that house is along Mecox Road.
Why?
Because you're allowed to have a 6-foot fence going to the back corner of the house on the front that's opposite a side yard.
Right, with a 5-foot indent.
Yeah, as long as it's
from the
inside
property
5
line.
feet. So
But that only covers the, hypothetically.
hypothetically,
Yes.
yes.
But that's also not the case, that doesn't, those facts don't fit this.
No,
this
it
actual
doesn't.
lot.
No, it doesn't.
Because of the wetland
Wetlands.
and the buffer.
Okay.
Well, but the house, yes.
That's
But
that's an important
your
issue.
property is your property. I mean,
Right, so,
it's not like, this is what you got.
If everybody came in with the ideal property, we wouldn't have to exist.
Yeah, right. This is what you got.
right. But I feel like those are things that should also be considered.
Can I
that
ask you something
what
about?
makes it
Yeah.
unique.
It is a unique piece of property, we'll grant you that, but, what's height is the fencing on this, on the, I guess this is southern? This part here, what's the height on there?
Be the southern.
There is no fence there.
Yes, there is. I looked at it, it's there.
That's not part of this lot.
That's not, the end of that lot is not part of our lot.
So that fencing is not your fence?
Nope.
Okay,
There's another lot between that wetlands and the next property over. This lot does not touch that end.
whose lot is that?
It's another lot.
It's also an 8-foot fence.
Yes.
I understand that the Conservation Board has come up with what they consider to be an interesting concept of how to, keep deer out of property.
Right.
And that's all very well and good. This board does not approve, as you know, 6-foot fences in front yards.
Right.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes,
So it is both to help with deer, but there's also a serious liability question of having people get onto a private property within access, and town lots this close to property would all have 6-foot fences, potentially with barbed wire. surrounding any water that goes.
What are you talking about?
So
There's another
what I've
top property.
provided, so, okay, there's a number,
Wait,
like-
wait.
But that's-
Wait,
what-
let's slow this down,
yeah, no, I wanna explain.
okay, because.
This is not just for deer deterrent, and that's what my presentation that I submitted earlier this week goes into. And in the interim, between my submission and today, we recognize that further up Ocean Road, that's what I submitted here, is 445 Ocean Road. It should say Ocean Road. If it says Mecox, that's wrong. Which is a town-owned recharge basin. So this actually has a pond and a wetland, and there are recharge basins all over town, and those are fenced in with 6-foot barbed wire fences that are right on the road.
Because they're dug.
But one could argue.
But what does that have to do with liability?
Yeah.
Like, are you,
Protecting the
There's
property.
water bodies all over the town.
All over. Yeah.
That
Yes.
you can walk right up to and do fish, jump in, you could do 1,000 things.
But are they on private properties like this?
Yes.
That you could, this is a busy corner.
but why would the 6-foot fence prevent that? Why wouldn't the compliant fence protect the liability of the property owners?
The 4-foot fence.
Yeah, 4-foot
With,
fence.
with
what-
hedging,
Well-
which you would be entitled to do.
So this is a multifaceted problem because we need corner clearance, no matter what the size of the fence is.
All right, but that's
because,
separate and apart from a 6-foot fence.
Okay. We're seeking safety, we're seeking security, we're seeking privacy. Those are, and if the wonderful thing of deterring deer from entering the property occurs, so be it. So this is a multi-layered situation.
I have to say, I'm not understanding the safety and security angle here.
Yes,
as
and
Kevin-
privacy. I mean, look, everybody in town, well, perhaps everybody in town would love a big fence in front to keep the deer out for their privacy and for their gardens and for everything. And they could all make a claim like, oh, it's for the security of my family. We don't approve 6-foot fences
I'm
in
not buying
front.
any of this, just
yeah.
so you know, categorically, no. Bad idea.
And I
It's
understand.
unjustified.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, the Conservation Board came up with this clever thing, but it's like, they do one thing and we do another.
I understand.
And our rule is that we look at the code and we try to enforce the code.
Right.
And they looking at conservation in a different way. Sometimes we're in conformance with each other and sometimes we're not.
Well, listen, I would go so far as to say that there is no credible theory of wildlife management that says this is a proper strategy for deer. There just isn't. And, at the last meeting, I said, please produce some credible theory that advances this. It's a stretch for the conversation to even continue that that's an option. And I appreciate the pivot to talk about the other things, but even they, there's plenty of yards that are open. And you put a fence up for a pool. Fences are 4 feet tall. That's no big deal. It's mostly for children. Cars at the right speed, they're going to go through plenty of things. This is just unreasonable. And I think certainly for me, I'm going to shut up after this. I'm not going for this, just saying.
Can I just say that, I see horse farms and they have 2 4-foot fences. And the horses jump as high or higher than deer. So why all of a sudden we're not seeing like all the horse farms with 6-foot fences in the front? They don't need them. So.
Again, part of the reason is to maintain some privacy. So.
You can put screening there.
Well, we're going to put screening
Okay, so
there,
you don't need
but
the fence.
It is a large property. There are a lot of multiple things. We have both Ocean Road, we have Mecox Road, we have a corner where a pond is very close to it, which is creating those items. We have moved the house all the way to the back of the property. As we did ask, or we did comment, the house being without the pond would be more normally in the middle, right? And we would be able to put a 6-foot fence on the side. That 6-foot fence is closest to where we are putting a house normally, right? If you went even to the front of the house versus the back of the house, it would provide privacy to the house itself, given how far back it is on the site and how close it is to Mecox. That would be a variance of a couple of feet within the larger property for privacy within my own personal home, right? Like, that would be a normal item had we been able to put the property. And normally we have
Yeah.
multiple other issues that.
No, I understand, but like I said, the property is the property. You know, you're giving us a hypothetical to try to justify your request for this variance, and it's not working for me.
Well, I think what he's saying is he's seeking if there's potential to compromise on the 6-foot fence potentially right in front of his actual house.
So what are you talking about? Like,
So-
so putting like,
So basically going from the front of the house, where it's the closest part, this is the front entryway of the house, to somewhere to the outline. If you went to the end of the wetlands area,
I'm
left
having
4
the hardest
feet.
time understanding why we're having this conversation. You could get screening from martyrs that would be better than a fence, work better than a fence. It would give you a much more aesthetic screen that, you know,
So
deer are resourceful, but they typically don't like jumping right through trees.
Yeah, no, so, fine, on that one area in front of the house, we are still within the wetlands, so we have to keep native plants.
Yes.
There are limited evergreens. So on that front
Eastern
area,
red cedars are really wonderful.
eastern red cedars don't cover deer, which are now on the property, will eat the bottom 4 feet of my eastern red cedars because they're on the property. Any eastern red cedar accessible to a deer will be missing the barren. I'm looking for protection from there and potentially higher depending on where the deer is. But just for that one section in front of the house, it's clearly not a deer fence.
you know, it's
specifically.
interesting that you talk about the deer eating the bottom of the red cedars. In my area, where down on Bay Lane and off on Wheaton Way, they put a 4-foot fence where at the bottom of the red cedars, and the deer do not eat the red cedars. They all have them.
And it's not like my wife doesn't love the deer. And she has a spray of peppermint, garlic, and something else. It's for real. And I said, you're out of your mind, this won't work. And it has. So there's other alternatives than a 6-foot fence as being requested. And to steal Susan's often used phrase, you're gonna have to get a little more creative about solving your problem in a way that doesn't run afoul of these issues, respectfully.
But so you know, Doris, on your suggestion that the 6-foot fence only extend to here, well, so what does that do for? It doesn't do anything.
Well, it protects where the house actually is for people on Mecox, which is the main roadway. So
I
given
know, yeah, but you don't like enclose it.
No,
so
it's more so to
I'm-
act as a barrier.
Sorry, yeah. I think of the fence in multiple areas. It happened to become 6-foot fence everywhere because of the process that we went through. I think of it, when I think about it, there's a wetlands portion of it, which is one portion, then there's the actual directly in front of the house.
But that would, you know, but the deer could come up from anywhere.
I'm saying that the deer was one part of it.
Oh, okay.
There's
This
also
is
a privacy part of it, which
Oh,
is
okay.
the normal, if we put the house in the middle of the lot, I'd be able to put a 6-foot fence on the back side per code.
I see.
Right? If I was extending that fence 20, 30, 40 feet to protect the front of the house, it gives me more privacy given how close the house is to
All
the
right, so
street.
for privacy reasons
Yes.
only.
On the back corner,
You're,
that's what
you're
I'm talking
looking
about.
for some kind of a
So
higher,
maybe to the edge of the buffer.
Right, to create a visual screen.
where's the buffer here? This is the edge of the buffer?
Yeah, this is the end of the wetlands here, so you can
Okay,
see the
yeah,
line.
okay.
But if we extended it here, it would be in front of the house, and Mecox is a heavily trafficked road. It just provides better.
This, like I said, there's a stop sign here on Mecox, so things back up.
But why
So-
doesn't vegetation do that?
Yeah.
But how is it not, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think, you know, I think your point, Julie, go ahead.
I don't understand why vegetation wouldn't suffice instead of a 6-foot fence, which isn't permitted.
Yeah, I
Well-
mean, in terms of privacy, a
Yeah.
6-foot fence you can see through. I mean, I'm
Well,
assuming that
Yeah,
you would
the
do
6-foot
the,
fence was an
Was
opaque
wood.
fence.
He wants to do a wood
It
fence.
was a wood fence in the request. I'm trying to figure out where we can find a middle ground here, because I would like to build this house. It's
But
a-
can you try
the
to
middle
just
ground
answer
is
my
not a
question?
nursery.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't vegetation suffice in terms of privacy along that area you're proposing to have a limited 6-foot fence?
So as many red cedars as I could plant.
Mhm.
right? That is one thing, but the seasons
With the-
change. They do go through the process, right? Like anything on the bottom usually doesn't stay for the full life of the year. So you would have visibility in. I was looking for the privacy to protect in front of the house, also from lights. There's a lot of other
Yeah, no, I
items.
understand, but every property owner has the same concerns, you know, they don't want people looking into their house and everything else. We don't approve 6-foot fences in front yards.
So this
And
is
this
side
would,
yard.
this is a front yard, Mecox Road, you've got 2 front yards. And again, I'm sorry, but this is your property.
But just,
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
not meaning to be disrespectful,
You're
but
not
this is
being,
three
trust me.
hundred
And we don't mean to be disrespectful either. I hope you understand
Yeah, no,
that. Don't take any of this personally.
321 linear foot front yard. And he's saying he would like to do approximately 75 feet more than what he's allowed, which is reasonable considering that the whole residence, if this was not a wetland, could be much farther up on the lot. And then he would be allowed more extensively that fence legally speaking. It's the
Instead
placement
of this,
the
you would
house.
have it further.
So
Yeah, but-
in my mind, if the board was to grant that, it's not setting a precedent, it's negotiating something in between on a very unique property that contains wetlands, is on a corner lot, and has a house in a required rear yard.
You know, the problem for me with that argument is that there are many, I mean, we sit here day and night hearing it. There are many unique properties in this town, many. And I do worry about saying this one is so unique that you get a 6-foot opaque fence, which to me feels a lot like a wall. And other people will latch onto that and come in and say, my property is unique too. I have 3, we had other 3 front yards here tonight. It's not resonating with me.
Is that the front of your house
That is the
facing?
front of my house.
Okay.
Because it's the only access, because I can't go over the wetlands to access the property.
Okay, so that's your front door is there, the whole
It's,
thing.
it's everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
Windows.
parking is there, so it would screen the parking also from the
Yeah, I know,
road
but,
as well.
we're gonna go around and around on this. I don't think you've got 4 votes. You need 4 out of 7 votes in order to get the variance. I don't see it right now unless,
Nope.
I'm misreading the board.
Nope.
So, what do you wanna do?
If we agreed to the 4-foot fence everywhere, and I have to put the extensive amount of cedars to block on this one entryway, are the other asks,
The variances for the setbacks
the other
on the.
variances that I
We
could
didn't
start
seem to have problems with the other part of the applications. I mean, I think we were all pretty, we thought that was totally reasonable. It's like the house has been there forever, you know, I mean, it made sense. So that we didn't have problems with.
And the
Our
corner
problem
clearance?
is with I have less of a problem with the corner clearance. I don't have as much of a problem because there is a big amount of land on those 2 roads. I'm not as sure about Ocean Avenue as I am about Mecox Road, but the fence is our issue. The fence is our issue.
So if
You
he
wanna
reduces
think about
it
it?
to 2 4-foot fences, is that something the board
I
is
have no,
amenable to?
Katie, I don't see any reason why if he has 2 4-foot fences, would that make it, you know, I don't know why you would do it,
Well, I
to be
guess in
honest.
reality, if it's 2 4-foot fences, then the only thing we would need a variance for would be the corner clearance.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think, Katie, is there any reason why they couldn't do 2 4-foot fences?
I mean, like a 4-foot fence and then 5 feet in another 4-foot fence? Yeah, that would be a building department question. I don't.
Yeah,
think
I
that would be a
can't
problem.
answer that, but,
Like you said, it's similar to the horse farms. I don't see why.
well, horse farms do that, I don't know,
Mhm.
you know, but they're probably under a whole different kind of, think about whether you need 2 4-foot fences, or you can do something with some fencing and some solid, you know,
Yeah,
native.
some of this is we have spent several years, as you can imagine, going through the conservation and wetlands to get to where we've gotten to, and so, right,
I'm
we
so,
had gotten something.
and I
approved.
apologize, because I know it can be very frustrating and it takes a long time. And I apologize, but we only got this application the last time, so, you know, you're getting our reaction to it now.
Right, and this was also approved by the DEC, and the DEC didn't have any questions at all. They just
I mean, but then, you know, like,
Yeah, they're not looking at the building code and what.
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah, that's, they are,
I just think that
they have different things that
that
they
should be
look
noted.
for. And, you know, we obviously want to make sure that the DEC would be okay with it before we, you know, grant a variance. But they look at certain things and we look at certain things, so what do you want to do here, Daphne?
Well,
And
I think it's up
Forrest,
to Forrest.
do you want to come back and give it some thought and come back? Or do you want to
Can I
withdraw?
understand the process just slightly for a second, right?
Oh, sure.
If, given there are 5 members, 6 members?
Seven. There's
Two
two
are out.
absent.
Two absent, but 4 to go through a vote process, right?
Yes, you need
I'm
4.
trying to understand if, right, we've been going through this process, I'd like to start construction at some point here. I'm trying to understand if, like, if the answer is in the middle ground, which we're trying to get to, is if it's 2 4-foot fences, that's not creating issues. No one seems to have issues with the zoning of the house necessarily, given the
Right.
pyramid rules. There doesn't seem to be issues with the corner lots. And if we went through
If you
with
went for
that-
the fence on the corner clearance, yeah.
the 4-foot, right?
Yeah.
So like it's 2 4-foot fences, and I'll just leave the 2 4-foot fences for now because that's what I had approved with wetlands, and I don't want to necessarily make adjustments necessarily across the board, so I could live with 2 4-foot fences. If that went through, does that seem reasonable for where the zoning board is
We have
standing?
no jurisdiction on a 4-foot fence at all.
No,
Well, only for the corner clearance.
Just the
Yeah.
corner
Yeah.
clearance,
The
that's
corner
as of
clearance,
right.
corner
Corner clearance is fine.
But Candace, I mean, Katie did say you should check with the building department in terms of a double fence. I don't think we have a problem with it, but I can
There's-
imagine
there's
that they
another
would.
thing. I mean,
does
you know,
either.
No.
Check with the highway department, because you could do everything you just said, and somebody's gonna go by and that's ridiculous, right? So, because
What do you mean?
doesn't the
What does
highway,
rant mean?
well, like rip it out,
Run
cut
into
it,
it?
that's happened to my,
Well, that's why we would need that variance, so
The
that.
corner clearance.
Yeah,
The corner clearance, that's the only one.
okay, but
so if the
Well,
highway department did
to-
go
to-
to do something, we have a piece of paper that says this
But you
can
know,
be
on
here.
corner clearance, again, you know, the challenge is you want to be able to see. So now,
You
right
can
now,
see I
it's,
stop there every day.
yeah, I know, but it's kind of grown up, right? It's like all overgrown or something like that. As long as there's a site, you know, that's why the corner clearance is there, so that you can see the site. You know, people can see cars coming and whatever.
Right,
so-
so then, if you go talk to Marty Shea, he's gonna tell you that he wants that to be overgrown
Yeah,
because
okay,
of the
okay.
wetland.
But, and I
And he
think that
doesn't
there is
care
enough
about the
space, so
zoning.
I don't have a, you know, honestly, in terms
stuck
of
in
the
the
other
middle.
things, I don't have a problem. But the 6-foot fence, in my opinion, it's a no-go for me. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 1135 Mecox Road?
No on Zoom.
Okay. All right, so what do you want to do? You want to think about it, come back, withdraw certain aspects of the application? What do you want to do?
If we go with the 4-foot fence, is it resolved tonight then? That's kind of.
If you withdraw, Katie,
Yep.
correct me if you withdraw certain aspects of your request, we can proceed with the remainder.
Yes, I mean, you have to revise the survey to take off the 6-foot fence. I think the board
We
would
can do that in a
condition
written, so-
any approval on removing the 8-foot deer fence that's been on there since
Yeah, the
2016.
8-foot fence has to come down.
Correct, I haven't made
Right.
changes because I didn't know what I could actually
Yeah,
do
no,
with
no, that's fine.
conflicting
That's fine.
fence rules.
Okay, all right, so that would be a condition, obviously. And then in terms of the other variances, I don't think we have a problem here. So I would say if you were able to submit a revised survey to reflect this and what your fence idea was, you put it on your survey, we could vote on and pass a decision. How much time do you need to do a
Get the survey in by
revised
3:21.
survey?
Well, Michael Hemmer retired, I just found out, so he's got new people, so we have to get in touch with them. My hope would be that we could get it by 3/21.
Is that the next meeting?
That's
The
the
next
submission
meeting
date.
is, the next meeting is 3/20, but we usually give, 2 weeks for people to comment. So,
So they're
and
saying
then
they'll
they,
close the hearing, we have to provide a survey before they would issue a
Right.
decision?
a decision which would be not the next meeting, but the meeting after, April 3rd.
We need
Is
a
that-
survey by 3/21,
Yeah,
and then April 30 would be.
And
the
if,
decision.
if you need more time, we can always postpone it. But,
Yeah.
you know, you're anxious to move ahead,
Correct.
see what you can get done.
Okay. So we will work on getting updated survey.
Okay. All right,
so I
whose
think
is
that's what
this?
we're doing.
Okay.
We're gonna go for 2 4-foot fences on the property lines as shown.
Okay, and then, you know, and include obviously the corner clearance and the other variances, the setback, the pyramid and everything else.
Yeah, so everything else.
So maybe you could just summarize in, as a
Okay.
written submission exactly what you would like us to approve so that we're all on the same page for the written submissions. Okay, whose is this? John, and I'm gonna take it. All right, so I'm gonna say, we are closing the public hearing. We're keeping it open for written submissions as of 3/21 with a decision on 4/3.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Mascarino? Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. I
Thank
know
you.
it's a struggle, but
Thank
you'll get there.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
too.
Did you want to say something?
I didn't want to say.
Let's go, guys.
Katie's moving us along.
Okay, we're on to decisions.
Okay.
We have,
Okay, Julie, do you want to take the first decision? Yes, sure. I'll take it.
Okay, Ben Ockburn, LLC, Suffolk County Town Map 900-211-1-11.29. This application is for property located at 108 Parish Pond Court East, Shinnecock Hills. Applicant requests relief for a proposed sports court on a flag lot burdened by 2 front yards, where the court will be located adjacent to town-owned open space and a tennis court next door, with the condition that the sports court not be used for pickleball and the screening be maintained. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State town law and the town code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed 30 foot by 80 foot sunken sports court, Little I Town Code, section 330-6, general regulations that references town code section 330-11, residence district tables of dimensional regulations for a distance from side lot line of 10 feet where 30 feet is required, and double little I town code section 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and section 330-83C, yards, to allow a proposed sports court to be located in the required front yard as shown in the survey prepared by John Berliski, LS, last updated on January 2, 2025. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired and may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including little I, that the sports court will not be used for pickleball as is indicated on the survey, and double little I, that the applicant and all successors in interest will maintain the existing hedging, landscaping that screens the area of the proposed court.
second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Mastriani?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
No.
Chair votes aye. Okay, I'll take it back.
Take it back.
All right, I have a decision in the matter of Susan Baumel Cornicello and Anthony Cornicello, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-270-4-1.17. This application is for property located at 23 Cormorant Drive, Hampton Bays. Applicant requests a variance for a modest pyramid encroachment for a second-story addition that was mistakenly built upon the scope of an issued building permit. While this board does not condone construction done beyond a permit, it does find that the request is minor and passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the Town Code Section 330-84D pyramid height for a pyramid encroachment in the amount of 33.2 cubic feet for a second-floor addition that exceeds the scope of the approved plans associated with building permit PO 9393943, as shown on the survey prepared by Brian A. Drucker, LS, last dated September 12, 2024, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Salvador Ionone Jr., RA, dated September 6, 2024. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including maintaining all stormwater runoff to ensure that it does not discharge into the bay. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redpath?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
And Chair votes aye. Okay, Kevin, you've got two?
I'm sorry.
You have two. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
You're up.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the application of Michael and Rosa Federico, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-176-1-1. This application is for property located at 95 Inlet Road West, Shinnecock Hills. Applicants request relief for a proposed one-family dwelling at an elevated patio on a non-conforming waterfront lot burdened by wetlands and two front yards. After relocating and modifying the house to reduce the pyramid encroachment, this board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code Section 330-84D pyramid height for a sky plane encroachment of 2,055.66 cubic feet, 960.30 cubic feet on the east, plus 1,095.36 cubic feet on the south, for a proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot from the Town Code, Section 330-84A, 4 yards, to allow a proposed elevated paver patio higher than 1 foot above grade to be located in the required front yard on the water side, as shown on the survey prepared by David H. Fox, licensed surveyor, last revised January 28, 2025, and floor plans, elevations, and pyramid diagram prepared by Peter A. Nesfeld, R.A., dated January 23, 2025. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicants has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for the final approval of the subject premises, including 1, securing a modified wetland permit prior to the issuance of the building permit, 2, the installation of small section of privacy fencing where permitted between the premises and the adjacent lot to the east.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redpath?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Next one?
Okay, go ahead, and then John, you have one.
Okay.
Okay.
Ocean View X, I'm sorry. I'm making the motion to approve Ocean View X, or 10, however it's written, as LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-271-1-39. This applicant is for a property located at 16 Ocean View Road, Shinnecock Hills. Applicant requests variances in connection with the construction of a new two-family dwelling of a waterfront lot with a non-conforming lot width
Correction, two-story dwelling, Kevin, not two-family.
One family.
I'm sorry.
I want to make sure you
All
read
right.
that though.
How should I
Construction of a
correct
new
that?
Just say it.
Two-story dwelling, correction, on a waterfront lot with a non-conforming lot with an unusually challenging topography. After reducing the amount of the pyramid encroachment requested, this board finds the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the Town Code Section 330-6, General Regulations, that references 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for a total side yard of 28.9 feet, where 35 feet is required, and from Town Code Section 330-84D, Pyramid Law for a sky plane encroachment of 2,255.92 cubic feet, parentheses, 1,980.7 cubic feet on the east and 270.22 cubic feet on the west, for a new one-family dwelling, as shown on the survey prepared by Gary J. Benz, last dated February 11, 2025, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Zachary Todd Clanahan, last dated December 16, 2024. Grant of the foregoing is subject to other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including securing all necessary permits and ensuring that stormwater runoff be contained on the lot and not discharged into the bay.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, John?
Motion to approve Ian Singleton and Maud Navari, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-100-1-71. This application is for property located at 271 Edge of Water Road, North Sea. Applicant requests a variance for a proposed one-story addition to a pre-existing dwelling on a lot comprised of 40,000 square feet in the CR-200 zoning district. This board finds that the applicant passes the standards set forth in New York State town law and the code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 330-115C, continuance for the proposed one-story addition on the east side of the dwelling on non-conforming lot, a principal front yard setback of 89 feet, where 91.7 feet is existing, a minimum side yard setback of 26 feet, where 40.1 feet is existing, and a total side yard setback of 68 feet, where 81.90 feet is existing, as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Barliski, LS, dated October 16, 2024, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Brian Brady, RA, dated October 22nd, 2024. Grant of the foregoing is subject to such other conditions and permits an applicant as already required or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Macedonia? Chair votes aye. Okay, do I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
And a motion to go into exec session.
okay. And
Yes.
now do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving into executive session.
Thank you.